SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
නිවසේ මෙවැනි මතුපිට රැඳෙන විස බීජ 99.9%ක්ම විනාශ කරන විම් ක්ලීනර්ස්.
Tonight, the sky's the limit. Price hikes in gas, milk, cement and wheat flour strike hard as high global prices signal a possible fuel increase as well. Almost there. International agencies laud Sri Lanka's Delta variant responds while mooting a successful and safe school reopening.
It's not as though the schools have higher transmission. So it's safe.
This has happened in Sri Lanka before and it can happen again.
Better protected. US health experts say that COVID-19 recoveries who get vaccinated don't need a booster shot. Plan B. Indian intelligence agencies reveal Tamil diaspora plans to bypass India and cozy up to China to get their way. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Monday the 11th of October 2021.
ඉසේ සම පෝෂණය කර ඉසුරු ඉවත් කරමින් නැවත ඇතිවීම වළකයි. Nava Clear Shampoo.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanaka. Now, imported milk powder, LP gas, wheat flour and cement all have seen their prices soar within the last 24 hours. The prices of domestic LPG in particular have almost doubled overnight. And what's more, Litrogas Lanka Limited's price revision was somewhat farcical as it hiked prices and then moved to reduce the new prices only by a sliver. The common cause for the price hikes across the board is increase in global market prices and soaring transportation costs. Let's take a look at how the price revisions will affect the public's wallets.
Last Thursday, State Minister of Consumer Protection Lasantha Alagiyawanna issued an extraordinary gazette removing price controls on essential commodities of cement, LP gas, milk powder and wheat flour. The move came in the backdrop of the relevant companies having sought a price hike from the government. Following the announcement, the Milk Powder Importers Association increased prices of imported milk powder on Friday. The kilogram of imported powdered milk was hiked by Rs 250 and a 400-gram pack of imported powder was increased by 100 rupees. Following this development, a kilogram of imported milk powder shot up to 1,195 rupees and the price of a 400-gram pack increased to 480 rupees. 2 days later, last evening, Litrogas Lanka also hiked prices. The price of a 12.5 kilogram cylinder, which stood at 1,493 rupees, was increased by a whopping 1,257 rupees overnight. It means a 12.5 kilogram Litrogas cylinder now costs 2,750. Meanwhile, the company also upped the price of a 5 kilogram gas cylinder by Rs 503, sending the price soaring to 1,101 rupees. A 2.5 kilogram gas cylinder was meanwhile increased by Rs 231, taking the new price up to 520 rupees. But this afternoon, the prices were revised once more. The price of a 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder was reduced by 75 rupees down to 2,675. The price of a 5 kilogram gas cylinder was brought down by Rs 30, meaning the new price will now be 1,071 rupees. The 2.5 kilogram gas cylinder too was subjected to a price revision, with it being reduced to 506 rupees following a 14 rupee reduction. In the meantime, Laf Gas too introduced their own price revisions. The new price of a 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder is now Rs 2,840 after it was hiked by 984 rupees. The 5 kilogram gas cylinder now retails at Rs 1,136, with the prices up by 393 rupees.
මිල වැඩි කිරීමට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් හේතුවක් උනේ පසුගිය වසර එකහමාර තුර ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ LP ගෑස් වල මිල ඉතාමත්ම අසාමාන්‍ය විදියට වැඩි වුණා. 2020 ජනවාරි මාසයේ ඩොලර් 350කට පැවති මෙට්‍රික් ටොන් එකක් අද වෙනකොට ඩොලර් 895 දක්වා වැඩි වෙලා. ඉතින් විශ්වාස කරනවා විශේෂයෙන්ම ශීත ඍතු ආරම්භ වීමත් හේතු කොටගෙන මේ ඩොලර් 1000 ඉක්මවා යයි කියලා. ඊට අමතරව විශේෂයෙන්ම රුපියල අප්‍රමාණය වීම ආදී කාරණා විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ කොවිඩ් අර්බුදය හමුවේ ලෝකයේ මේ ප්‍රවාහන කටයුතු වල ඇති වූ අර්බුදත් හේතු කරගෙන ඒ පිරිවැය වැඩි වුණා. එහි ප්‍රතිඵලයක් විදියට තමයි මේ ගෑස් මිල අපි වෙනස් කරේ. අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා මේ මිල වැඩි කිරීමට වගේම විශේෂයෙන්ම ජනවාරි පෙබරවාරි මාස වෙනකොට මේ මිල අඩු කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් අපිට ලැබෙයි.
As for the other commodities, Serendip Flour Mills and Prima Ceylon announced a 10 rupee price hike for the kilogram of wheat flour from effect today. Now the price of a kilogram of wheat flour is 97 rupees.
මේකට පළමුවෙනි හේතුව වන්නේ ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ තිරිඟු මිල ඩොලර් 100කින් වැඩිලා තියෙනවා. ඒක දෙවෙනි එක ඩොලර් හිඟයක් දැන් ලංකාවේ පැවැත්වෙනවා. ඒකම ඩොලර් එක 205ට වඩා වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. තුන්වෙනි හේතුව වන්නේ ජාත්‍යන්තර ප්‍රවාහන ගාස්තු 50% වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් හරියට බැලුවොත් එම අපි රුපියල් 15කින් හරි 20කින් වැඩි කරන්න ඕනේ. නමුත් දැන් තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව කොවිඩ් තත්ත්වය නිසා අපි ඒ මුළු බරම ජනතාවට පරවන්නේ නැතුව රුපියල් 10ක වගේ අඩුම ගන්නකින් තමයි වැඩි කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
The cement companies too joined in the price hike, increasing the price of 50 kilogram bag of cement by rupees 93 to 1098 rupees. In the meantime, prices of several food products also increased following the announcement of the commodity price increases. The Bakery Owners Association increased the price of a 450-gram loaf of bread by 5 rupees. The price of a packet of rice and curry has also been upped by 10 rupees, but the Canteen Owners Association, while a cup of milk has also been put up by 10 rupees.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, meanwhile, also heralded a possible fuel price hike in the near future. Its chairman, Sumit Vijayasinghe, said the only move left in the backdrop of an inflated fuel price in the global market is to put local prices up, and that by the end of August, the CPC had incurred a loss of 70 billion rupees. Brent crude today jumped beyond $83 to its highest since October 2018.
ඉන්ධන මිල ඉහළ දැමුවේ ජුනි මාසේ 11 වෙනිදා. ඒ අවස්ථාව වෙනකොට ලෝක වෙළඳ පොලේ තෙල් බැරලයක මිල පෙට්‍රල් 92 ඩොලර් 78.8යි. ඩීසල් 76.7ක් තමා තිබුණා. අද වෙනකොට පෙට්‍රල් බැරලයක මිල ඩොලර් 92ක් බවට පත් වුණා. ඩීසල් 92.67කට ඉහළ ගිහින් තියෙනවා. මේම තෙල් මිල ඉහළ යාමත් එක්ක අද වෙනකොට පෙට්‍රල් ලීටරයකින් රුපියල් 14.56ක පාඩුවක් කන්තෙල් සංස්ථාව ලබනවා. ඒ වගේම ඩීසල් වලින් රුපියල් 31.46කින් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා ආලාභය. මේම තෙල් මිල ඉහළ යාමත් එක්ක අගෝස්තු මාසේ 31 වෙනිදා වෙනකොට රුපියල් බිලියන 70ක පාඩුවක් අපි ලබනවා. ඒක නිසා කන්තෙල් සංස්ථාව මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවකදී සිදු කළ යුතු ප්‍රධාන කාරණාව තමයි ඉන්ධන මිල ඉහළ දැමීම.
මගේ කාමරේදී කරන්න පුළුවන් ඉල්ලීමක් එතුමා රට ඉදිරියම කරා. ඒක හොඳයි. එතකොට රට දන්නවා මුණ දීලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය. මම ලෝකේ පුරෝගතනේ තියෙන්නේ මේ දිනවිල ඩොලර් 83ට විකිනෙන බොරතෙල් බැරලයක් ඩොලර් 100 දක්වා මේ අවුරුදු දෙසැම්බර් මාසෙ වෙන ඊට ඉල යාවි කියලා. ඉතින් පුළුවන් තරම් දරාගෙන ඉන්නවා. ඕනට වඩා බර උස්සන්න ගියාම කොන්ද කැඩෙන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවනේ. පවතින ඉන්ධන මිල ගණන් යටතේ ඔක්තෝබර් මාසෙට පමණ කෝටි 100ක් පාඩු ලබන්න නියමිතයි. වැඩි මිසක් අඩු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. තෙල් මිල වැඩි කරනව නැද්ද කියන එක ආණ්ඩුව ගත යුතු තීරණයක්. අපේ මෙතරම් පාඩුවක් ලබනවා. තවදුරටත් අපිට මේ පාඩුව දරා ගන්න බෑ කියන කාරණේ අපි අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලය දැනුම්වත් කරනවා. ඒතර අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයට වෙනත් සහනයක් ලබා දෙන්න හැකියාවක් තියෙන එක කියාවේ. නැත්නම් ඉතින් මිල වැඩි කිරීමකට යන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. අද පොලිමීටර තෙල් ගහලා වැඩක් නැහැ. අද ඊට නම් මිල වැඩි වීමක ඒ සාතිකය මන් දෙනවා. ආණ්ඩුව ඇතුලේ සාකච්ඡාවල ගිය පාරත් සති 3ක සාකච්ඡාවට පස්සේ තමයි වැඩි කරන ප්‍රමාණය තීරණය කරේ. ඉදිරි දින කීපයේ තෙල් මිල වැඩි වීම සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක නම් මට බය නැතුව කියන්න පුළුවන්.
In the meantime, we contacted the Lanka Indian Oil Company following the announcement of the CPC. As expected, they said that prices of all varieties of petrol and diesel will need to be increased.
Now then, addressing an event today, the World Health Organization's representative to Sri Lanka, Dr. Alaka Singh, said that parents should send their children to school without any fear, as experiences abroad have shown schools to not have high transmission rates of COVID-19. Speaking at the same event, the UNICEF representative to the island also expressed confidence that Sri Lanka can reopen schools without any doubt, while adhering to safety protocols as it has done successfully before.
I would like to and I must reassure parents that it's perfectly safe to send your children. I believe the primary sections will be opened. The global evidence suggests that the schools reflect what's happening in the communities. It's not as though the schools have higher transmission. So it's safe. The government is moving forward in a step-by-step manner, so please don't hesitate. Of course, the schools need to work with parents and communities to ensure continued safety. And please do work together to make sure that we can get back to a normal life.
We are very eager to get children back into school. It doesn't mean they will all go back at the same time and to be there all the time, but it is the strong recommendation across the world to have as many children as possible back into school. The children that are the poorest, that are more marginalized, have lost the most during this pandemic in terms of education. So they are the ones who need to go back most urgently. They don't have access to internet and they have not been able to follow an interactive educational program during these months. Many of them don't have TV or radio even. So the earlier they can get back, the better for them to catch up. And we need to strengthen the remedial classes as well so that they can catch up, because the worst thing we want is for the gaps that already existed before the pandemic in terms of learning outcomes to be more profound. We know also from experience in Sri Lanka that children can get back to school under safe conditions. This has happened in Sri Lanka before and it can happen again.
With there being a possibility of a long weekend next week, health authorities are concerned that people might be tempted to make full use of the holiday, risking another COVID outbreak.
Since the start of the COVID pandemic in Sri Lanka, over 525,000 infections have been reported across the island, and the country faced 3 waves of it. Unlike the first and second waves, the third wave had the most devastating effect, with the dreaded Delta variant at the heart of it. At the peak of the third wave, the daily caseload breached 5,000. Drastic situations called for drastic measures. That's exactly what the government did by bringing an island-wide curfew into effect. That was on the 20th of August and it stayed in place as well for over a month until the 1st of October. In the days that passed since, new cases have seen a drastic reduction and COVID deaths too have gone down. But there's a long way to go yet.
We are now reached a situation where less than 1,000 cases are reported and around 30 to 35 deaths are reported. But we need to keep in our mind that the situation is still much more serious than what we were experiencing last year. Despite there was a huge cluster formed during the month of October last year, we did not reach 1,000 cases a day during that cluster, and most of the time it was less than 500 cases a day, though there were a few days where more than 500 cases reported. And also the number of deaths were little less than what is reported at this moment. But we need to keep in our mind that the situation is still not come back to normal or near normal.
In the meantime, with there being 2 holidays on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, health authorities are concerned. They fear that people might be tempted to turn it into a long weekend and release some of the pent-up frustration over the lack of travel opportunities in the past months.
We are expecting a long weekend in the coming days, and we know that we are expecting a large number of groups of people and individuals would like to go out, as we have been confined to our homes for the last few weeks or few months, and we do not want anybody to restrict their opportunities to have any kind of leisure that they are expecting to have. However, we need to understand that if everyone go out during this long weekend, and we also might contribute to this large gathering of people if we also decide to embark on this kind of outings during this weekend, but that will be in a way contributing to formation of a cluster of cases.
Citing various studies, US health experts say people who've recovered from COVID-19 and who have been fully immunized don't need to be in a rush to get a booster dose. Despite research in this regard still being in its preliminary stages, they say that such persons have strong protection against the virus, including against other variants.
The world may not see the normal it so blissfully enjoyed before the COVID pandemic, but a new normal is very much possible. That new normal might be something similar to what the likes of the UK is experiencing. Stadiums are full at sporting events. No social distancing required outside. but masks have to be worn. All that is only possible once a country vaccinates most of its population. Chief Medical Officer of Health at Municipal Council of Colombo revealed today that a considerable percentage in Colombo above the age of 30 remains to be fully vaccinated.
30ට වඩා වැඩි සියලුම අයගෙන් 92ක් මේ වන විට කොළඹ නගරය තුළ ප්‍රශක්තිකරණයට භාජනය කරලා තියෙනවා පළමු මාත්‍රාව. ඒ 92කින් 168 දෙනෙක් දෙවන මාත්‍රාවක් ලබාගෙන තිබෙනවා. අද එන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා නිරීක්ෂණ චාරිකාවක යෙදුණා. විශේෂම කොටුව පිටකොටුව ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා බලන්න. එතකොට විශේෂයෙන්ම පළවන හරස් වීදියේ දෙවන හරස් වීදියේ ප්‍රධාන මේන් ස්ට්‍රීට් එක මේවා අධික ලෙස ජනගහනය ගැවසෙමින් සිටිනවා. සමහරුන් තවමත් මාස්ක් එකක් හෝ පළඳින්නේ නැතුව එක්ක නිකටට දාගෙන මේක තාමත්ම භයානක තත්වයක්. අපි එහි සිටින නාට්‍යාමි මහත්වරුන් ඒ වගේම සියලුම අය හැකි පමණ එන්නත්කරණයට ලක් කරලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපි දන්නවා එන්නත්කරණය විතරක් නෙමෙයි අවසාන විසඳුම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අපිට තව අවුරුද්දක් හෝ දෙකක් මේ නව සාමාන්‍යකරණය යටතේ අපිට ඉන්නට අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා.
In the meantime, the vaccination of the university students aged 20 to 29 began today. Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Sampath Amaratunga, says that local university students can obtain the vaccine at any university near them.
දින 5ක් මේ එන්නත් කරන මධ්‍යස්ථානවල සේවය දරුවන්ටත් අධ්‍යයන සහ අනධ්‍යයන කාර්ය මණ්ඩලවලට ලබා දෙනවා. විශ්වවිද්‍යාලවල පමණක් නෙමෙයි මණ්ඩප දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ මණ්ඩප දෙකේදීත් මේ එන්නත ලබා දෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව උදාහරණයක් වශයෙන් සබරගමුව විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ වෛද්‍ය පීඨය පිහිටලා තියෙන්නේ රත්නපුරේ. ඒ නිසා රත්නපුරේ සබරගමුව විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයට අමතරව එන්නත් කරන මධ්‍යස්ථානයක් පිහිටවලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා අපි සාකච්ඡා ආරම්භ කරන්න විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ආරම්භ කරන දින තීරණය කරන්න.
Meanwhile, health authorities urge would-be travelers to be certain whether their destination countries in fact recommend a particular jab even if vaccination is not mandatory for overseas travel.
විශේෂයෙන් වැදගත් වෙන්නේ මේ එන්නත් ලබා ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒ රටවල් නිල වශයෙන් ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තියෙනවද කියන එක තහවුරු කරගන්න. මොකද එක එක රටවල් කියනවාය කියලා එන්නත් ලබා ගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න එපා. අනවශ්‍ය අපහසුවකට සියලු දෙනා පත්වීමකුයි එතන සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ.
The China manufactured Sinopharm jab was the most widely used vaccine in Sri Lanka's immunization drive. It is well documented that some European countries are refusing to recognize that jab despite it being authorized by the World Health Organization. So if you're vaccinated with Sinopharm and a travel need deems the Pfizer jab a requirement, as in the case of most Western countries, what do you do?
ඒක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් තීරණය කරන්න වෙන්නේ වෛද්‍ය විද්‍යානුකූලව ඒ පුද්ගලයා මතත් ඒ පුද්ගලයාට දුන්න එන්නත මතත් ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් විශේෂඥ දැනුම ඇති පුද්ගලයෙක් විසින් කරන තීරණයකටයි. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට ආවට ගියාට අපිට හිතන වෙලාවට මේ එන්නත ලබා ගන්න එපා. යම්කිසි විශේෂ හේතුවක් මත විශේෂ එන්නතක් ලබා ගැනීමට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා නම් වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් හමු වෙලා මේ එන්නත අපි මීට කලින් එන්නත ලබා ගත්තේ මේ අවස්ථාවේ දැන් මේ දෙවෙනි නැත මේ අවස්ථාකාරයට ලබා ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. මේ පිළිබඳව බාධා ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවාද කියලා තීරණය කිරීම ඒ අයට බාර කරන්න අපි ඉතාමතා ඒ කටයුත්තට යෙදෙන්න එපා.
Meanwhile, in addition to the standardized two-shot vaccine regime, there are talks of booster dose as well as third administration. Many countries have carried out booster dose rollouts for people who are immunocompromised, such as those who are unable to obtain intended levels of protection from the two initial doses. Sri Lanka is also planning to roll out a booster dose for its population and have placed necessary vaccine orders. But for a small percentage, namely those who are vaccinated and have recovered from COVID, there's no rush for a booster. US health experts have made this claim citing various studies conducted there. Though the research is at the preliminary stage and the data is incomplete, scientists who specialize in vaccines and immunology say that people who have COVID-19 and are fully vaccinated have strong protection, including against variants. Member of the US Food and Drug Administration's advisory panel on vaccines, Dr. Paul Offit, said that people who were infected and vaccinated just won the game.
Big 3.
Now, Indian intelligence agencies have warned that Tamil diaspora groups may seek to approach the Chinese government in establishing closer political and economic ties. An intelligence note reported on by Indian media says that the groups are seeking to do so due to India's failure to safeguard Tamil interests in the face of waning influence due to increasing Chinese presence and investments in Sri Lanka.
Tamil diaspora groups are concerned about increased Chinese influence in Sri Lanka and the large-scale and long-term investments Indian intelligence agencies are reporting. According to the reports, these concerns have been expressed by UK Tamil diaspora delegates at a conclave held in London recently. Further, the delegates have also expressed concerns that any Chinese presence in the north of Sri Lanka could pose a threat to Tamil aspirations. Indian intelligence agencies are also concerned by reports of diaspora group plans to approach China and set up a political and economic base as well. This plan comes in the backdrop of diaspora allegations that the Indian government has failed to safeguard Tamil interests due to its waning influence in the face of an increasing Chinese presence in the island. Diaspora groups are also assuming that Chinese will welcome these initiatives, as establishing strong contacts with Tamil groups would assist them in having a hassle-free presence in Sri Lanka's northern province and also facilitate them in their stance against India. However, according to the Indian intelligence note on the development, there remains some internal opposition to the plans among diaspora groups, as delegates fear losing South Indian Tamil support for their cause. Meanwhile, Indian police in Tamil Nadu have been warned of a spike in clandestine meetings being held between former LTT members in the state with the aim of reviving the group in Sri Lanka. With that, police in the state have been instructed to increase surveillance of such meetings and be on the lookout in coastal areas for any attempts by pro-LTT operators to smuggle in drugs and weapons. Further, Indian media outlets are also reporting that police sources have confirmed that radical Islamic elements from Pakistan and Turkey have been brought into Sri Lanka by senior political leaders and settled in the eastern province with plans to infiltrate into India.
Addressing a public engagement, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa commented on the slew of price hikes covering some commodities. Alleging that the government's handling of the economy is a major debacle, the Samagi Jana Balawega leader urged the government to resign and allow those who have the ways and means to reduce prices and deliver much needed economic relief to the people.
අද දවස් අපට දැනගන්න ලැබිලා තිබෙනවා ජනතාවට දරා ගන්නට බැරි විදිහට ගෑස් මිල වැඩි වෙලා, කිරිපිටි මිල වැඩි වෙලා, සිමෙන්ති මිල වැඩි වෙලා ඒ නිසාම ජනතාවගේ කරපිට ඉමහත් ජීවන බරක් පැටවෙන තත්ත්වයක් අද නිර්මාණය වෙනවා. දැන් ජනතාවට හුස්ම ගන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. ජනතාවට ජීවත් වෙන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම රට තුල ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන අදක්ෂ ආර්ථික පරිපාලනය තුල තමයි මේ මහා ඛේදවාචකය අපිට මූණ දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම රටේ ජනතාව ජීවත් කරවීමේ වගකීම ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවෙන් මේ පාලක පන්තියට රජයට පැවරෙනවා. නමුත් අද අපිට පේන්න තිබෙනවා මේ බඩු මිල ඉහළ යාම තුල ජනතාවගේ ජන ජීවිතය තවදුරටත් අසහනයට පීඩනයට ලක් වෙනවා. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම අපි ප්‍රශ්න කරන්නට ඕන වර්තමාන පාලනයට මේ රටේ ආර්ථිකය කළමනාකරණය කරන්නට පුළුවන්. අපිට දැන් ජනතාවට අත්පත් වී තිබෙන ඉරණම දිහා බලනකොට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මේ රජයට ආර්ථිකය පාලනය කිරීමේ කිසිම වැඩපිළිවෙලක් නැහැ. කිසිම සැලැස්මක් නැහැ. කිසිම දර්ශනයක් නැහැ. අපට කියන්නට තිබෙන්නේ රට පාලනය කරන්න බැරි නම් ආර්ථිකය හසුරවන්නට බැරි නම් පුළුවන් කණ්ඩායමකට බාර දීලා කරුණාකරලා ඉවත් වෙන්න.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, shares snapped a three-day winning streak to close lower today as losses in heavyweight industrial and financial stocks weighed, while bonds fell after the central bank scrapped a buyback plan. The CSE All Share Price Index closed 0.31% lower at 9,649.26, while the S&P SL 20 Index of more liquid stocks fell 43 points to close at 3,570. Now with that, here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
We saw a bit of a profit taking in the market this week as the index declined by around 30 points during the day. We saw the S&P SL 20 index declining by a larger portion of 35 points during the day. So sizably you can see S&P has moved down stronger than the ASI index, which indicates that there's a sizable dip in the blue chip counters. So overall we are seeing most retail favorite counters that were there in the market is sort of slightly dipping in value, mainly because of the overall profit taking of the investors. So slightly lower levels of turnover also was recorded because of this profit taking. We are seeing only 2.6 billion rupees of turnover during the day, and even the number of transactions, though, continues to be onto the high side of around 30,000. If you take the previous levels that we saw over the last week, it was in the range of 35,000 to 40,000 range. So that amount has dipped.
Meanwhile, in the currency market, the rupee remained unchanged at 203. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee fared against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.